Welcome back for Chapter 4 of our Introduction to the Dairy Raid Offense series. Last week, we started diving into the running game of the air raid offense and how it plays a crucial part in creating a balanced offense. And as the years go by, you've definitely seen the masters of the air raid offense start to understand the virtues and the value of having a balanced running attack as a part of their air raid system, because you can install an air raid philosophy and still run the football. So last week we talked about the inside zone, and for me the inside zone is the most versatile blocking scheme in football because there's so much you can do with it. You can run inside, you can run outside, you can run play action, you can run RPO, whatever you want to do, you can do with this one blocking scheme. And it doesn't have to get much more complicated than that. So the true complement to the inside zone is the outside zone. And what I love about the outside zone, what I love about when I get in time to teach the outside zone, is how much the outside zone is a misnomer. Meaning, this is not just a play that's designed to get to the sideline. It does. And we use a lot of backfield actions that design to get the ball to bounce it outside. But it is the horizontal movement that forces the defense to play more sideline to sideline. And what you end up getting is some great situations where you can get cutbacks, where you can set up plays behind RPOs, etc. And if you have a running back who can stretch the field horizontally but plant his foot and get vertical, now you've got an offensive blocking scheme that can really create problems for a defense. So what we're going to be doing here, we're going to get into huddle. We're going to go in the classroom and we are going to install the outside zone. And then after we've installed the outside zone, we're going to take a look at some clips of the Badgers running variations of outside zone this season and talking about how Phil Longo uses the outside zone with the Badgers. Okay, here we are in the Dairy Raid classroom, back on huddle, and we are going to install the outside zone and talk about the blocking schemes and then also how we read the blocks in the outside zone to determine where we're going to run the ball. All right, so like the inside zone, the outside zone is a rules-based blocking scheme, but also like the inside zone, the rules just give us the direction of our flow, the angle of attack, and help us determine where we're going to block as opposed to strictly who we're going to block based on the rules. So when we are installing and we are looking for our area of responsibility, we are looking from our play side shoulder to the play side shoulder of the person next to us. Now, it's important to understand because when we get into how we block this, anybody's touching my inside shoulder, any part of my inside shoulder, I consider that in my zone. Okay? So if I've got a player who's head up on me, I'm still considering him on my shoulder. But we'll talk about that here in a second. All right. So let's build up through this blocking scheme and talk about the different types of blocks that we're going to see in the outside zone. Okay, so our initial footwork coming out of our stance, we're going to open up with our play side foot with what we call a bucket step. It is a wide step where we can open our hips. So it's a little bit of a drop back, but not much. Just to widen so we can see the angle of attack. And it's really hard to see with the huddle drawing tool, but that's what we're kind of doing here. So we're gonna pivot, open, turn our toe outside of the man and the edge of the box or edge of our area of responsibility. The goal is, when we are reaching any type of player in this situation, is try to get my inside hand down his middle so then I can ride him to the second level. That's the idea. So I want to dip my shoulder and get my inside hand right down the middle of this guy. If I can't get that hand down the inside, I want to get my forearm down the middle. And I want to carry this defensive tackle here to the middle linebacker, to the free safety, like Captain America carries his shield. So that's how we're working. It's like we're almost like we're boxing him out and carrying him to the next level. Okay? And this is what we would do if we are covered to the play side. So we're going to work to get that inside hand underneath, down the middle, or work that inside forearm to try to get around that blocker, or excuse me, defender, if we're covered to the play side. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here as the defensive, as the guard. Our next man is pretty wide, so we'll come out a little flatter, but obviously he's going to be outside of our area of responsibility very quickly. So at that point, we're going to start climbing. Now we want to climb through that angle that's created by how wide we have to go to quote unquote catch this guy. And then what that's going to do is help us get out ahead of the likely guy that we need to climb and catch at the second level, which in this case would be the backside inside linebacker, or the Mike backer in this case. Okay, so we're doing the same thing again here. Open with the bucket step, work to get our inside hand around, climb through his outside shoulder. Same here, as we talked about with the other guard, we're going to widen with our initial footwork. As he clears our area of responsibility, we climb through the angle that's created, and we climb to the second level. And we're working here the same. Okay, so we're going to build through the blocking scheme right there like that. That's if we're covered to the play side. Let's say that we are covered head on. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this defensive tackle. We're going to put him in a straight two directly down the middle of this guard. So this can be a tricky block, but what we're going to try to do here is similar to what we did with the inside zone. I don't want to just open up and try to get outside of him. It's going to be hard for me to get enough momentum to open my hip, bucket step, and get in position on him, and then drive forward to at least get some kind of angular movement. So what I'd rather do is just fire out of my stance straight up into this guy. Okay, anchor down, drive block. Now, I still need to get off to get to this linebacker. And how I'm going to do that is with the help of the guy next to me. So what he's going to be doing, he's doing the same thing that he's aiming for before. He's going to open wide enough to work to the outside shoulder of that man down. And when he sees that I'm engaged, what he's basically going to do is he's going to bump me out of the way. He's going to get in and he's going to box me out. And as he boxes me out as the guard, that is going to give us the momentum upfield to get this guy off the line of scrimmage, but then it's also going to allow me to get off and start climbing. Now, as this play develops, am I going to be able to get out in front of this Mike linebacker? Probably not. If he's flowing with the ball correctly, he's probably flowing here. And he'll probably be over the center by then. But the great thing with the outside zone is we can take that defender where he wants to go. So we're going to climb. If he outruns us, we're just going to wall him off. But we're going to wall him off from the inside out instead of from the outside in. And that's going to create a cutback lane. And we could drive him all the way over here. It doesn't matter. Going to get us in the right situation. Okay? So that's how we clear off with a defender who is covering us heads up. Now, if we're covered to the backside, we're basically going to let him go. But what we can do to help us get to the second level is basically slingshot off him. So what I can do here is I can, as I'm opening, I can take my right hand and just drive it into the shoulder of this nose tackle just to give me a little bit of push. So boom, slide off, we call it a slingshot, and that's going to help us climb to the second level. So again, to recap, covered to the play side, inside hand down the middle, Captain America hand to the second level. If we're covered heads on, we're going to anchor down, and we are going to wait to be boxed out by the man next to us. Covered to the backside, we're going to slingshot off him. We're going to climb to the second level, or we're going to work down. That's how we block the inside zone. Now let's talk about how we read as a running back in the inside zone and how we get through our progression quickly as a running back, and we don't end up dragging this too wide to the sideline. Okay, so our initial footwork as a running back, the way I teach it, I work sidecar with my outside zone. We're in a even alignment, and then we're 2 yards away. This is how I like to run it. And our running back is going to be working horizontally across the face of the quarterback. Quarterback's going to get a slight. He's going to step off the horizontal line, maybe shuffle with him for a step or two, and then he'll hinge back and reading backside. So when we teach how to read outside zone, what I teach my running backs is to read from 2 to 1. Now, who are 2 and who are 1? The 2 to 1 are the number 2 defender is the second defender on the line of scrimmage out from the center to the play side. Second out. A man who's head up doesn't count. It's the first man over from the center, second man out. That's number 1. So in this case, our rush end is our number 1, and our nose is our number 2. So, I'm sorry, got that the wrong way. Outside is 2, inside is 1. See, even I screw up my own rules sometimes. So we read 2 to 1. So what do we mean 2 by 1? Okay? Easy. Wherever these guys go makes my read. So if number 2 is in, meaning he attacks inside, and we get the edge. Number 2 is in, I'm out. So that's telling me, my running back, that as soon as we clear this edge, we see it, boom, we're getting upfield. And hopefully we're going to get a nice block right here. So if he's in, I'm out. And I burst and I go. He's in, I'm out. If 2 is out, he beats my guy to the edge. If 2 is out, I'm in. And I pick up number 1. And it's the same concept. So this read can happen really fast. This read can almost happen before we finish the mesh. In fact, he's coming out of a stance and his eyes are right at number 2. 2's out, I'm in. I find number 1. If number 1 is in, I'm out. And in can, if he's in inside shade here, in can happen very quickly. Because we can automatically say he's probably in right here. So he's in, I'm out, and I'm going right up the alley right there. If he's out and he's worked down the line and he's done a good job like any nose tackle should, then I'm in, and I'm looking to burst it right up the middle. And if you have a running back who can burst an outside zone from an A gap, you've got the right guy to fit this system. And this horizontal movement by both the running back and the backfield, you're thinking that this is going to be a hard block, especially if we get a situation like this. But like we just talked about, you get this horizontal movement, he's going to be attacking downhill. He's going to be working wide. He very likely could outrun this. And boom, we've got a nice cutback right there. Okay, so that's the idea. We're reading 2 to 1. Now, the great thing with this too is this idea of the 2 to 1 works also when we're running it as a stretch, which is again something you'll see the Badgers run when we watch the film here in a little bit. Is you can read the same way in a stretch. Okay, we'll move some guys around. We'll talk about this. Okay. So if we get this alignment, we'll probably, again, with the D tackle would probably be more in right there. So we'll build from the front, we'll work back. So if we're going to run stretch from a 1-by-1 alignment here, running back's going to be aiming towards the imaginary tight end or the actual tight end, depending on what formation you're in. We're going to reach it out. We're going to boot back, and we're going to read 2 to 1. So if 2 works out, and we don't get the edge and get him turned, because again, that's going to be the slight difference. We need to control his outside shoulder. If we can't control his outside shoulder, he's out. Same thing with the guard. We're going to work to control his outside shoulder. If we can control his outside shoulder, he's in and I'm out, and I'm banging it right there. If we can't control his outside shoulder and he works out, then I'm in and I'm going to bang it back there. So that's the read. It's pretty similar. Same concept. It's a 1 to 2 read, 2 to 1 read. Now, if we get this kind of alignment, it might look a little tricky, but we can work through it. So our center be working flat, not there. He's going to look to scoop. Again, he's going to take that will linebacker wherever he wants to go. If the will linebacker wants to keep working outside, then we'll just wall him off from inside out. If he tries to cut it back, then we'll just climb through it and see him from the outside in. Backside guard, same concept. Now here, this guy might be tricky. But again, we take him where he wants to go. If he's going to flow downhill, we're going to work across the best we can, and we might end up walling him off, which is going to end up creating another cutback. It's a harder cutback, but it's certainly there. So we want to take the blockers where they want to go. The defenders. Because it's okay to get beat in an outside zone as long as we wall them off. Same thing in here. If you are not fast enough to get to his shoulder, don't fight it. Just block the half you have and wall him off. Can't get to his outside shoulder? Block what you have, wall him off. We'll cut off of that because we're creating lanes. This goes back to the Vince Lombardi power sweep video that you've seen a million times about get a seal here, and run into the alley. Same concept, just done a different way. All right, so that's how we install and how we read and progress to the outside zone. Now we're going to get into huddle, and we're going to take a look at some film about how Phil Longo and the Badgers run outside zone from this last season. Okay, here we are back in huddle, and we're going to take a look at some examples of Wisconsin running the outside zone this year and talk about how they run it and a couple of little variations that they run off the scheme. So here we go. This is starting out against Washington State. And we're just using the motion as a cross key. Maybe a bubble option off of this. But we're working out And what we can do here is right in here, one of the great thing about outside zone, you can get beat outside. And that's exactly what we had here, is this cockeyed nose works wide, that creates the cutback lane. So good job of climbing on the backside. Push, put the foot in the ground, drive upfield. Digging out guys on the backside, working to climb. Moving on. Same game. And I want to get a couple of these clips early again to show actually Ches running these as well. Of course, this is Braylon. I say that the previous one was Ches. Work out, working to climb. See, we're working to get our inside hand down the middle of that blocker and then climbing. We see a slingshot there on the backside. Slingshot right there to climb. We're already committed outside. Let's see, do we read it right? It's pretty far out, but what Nelson does here is a little different. Is he's more stationary to let him try to come down into him. And then just uses his strength to set the edge, but he was in, so we went out. All right, next up we got a couple clips from Purdue. So working wide, we got the edge. Turning, here's a good one. Ches, using that speed. Okay, so we're reading out here. Gonna scoop there. He hesitates, so that allows Nelson to kind of get around the corner. There might have been some kind of action there. And we were able to get outside. 2 is in, so I'm out. Okay, next up. Again, same thing. We push, press laterally, and then cut vertical. Press and then cut. Okay, so we just got some great flow. A nice, actually a pretty decent turn here. Is that Furtney? It gets around the edge, or is that Wettig? That actually might be Trey Wettig. Getting out there, controlling, steering wheeling that defensive end. Getting him turned back inside, create a nice lane. Braylon, and Braylon takes care of the rest. Great run. His running style was actually well suited to the outside zone. Again, press the wall. This time, can still have a read component, pull it out, and we have an access throw on the back. You're, running a modern day triple option off of outside zone. But the scheme set up there, 5 is just crashing. He's really coming hard on an outside zone if we can pull it. And then we built in an option in case that second or third level defender comes down on the ball, which they do here. Safety comes creeping down the area of the edge outside. A little split flow, and we're going to RPO off of it. So scheme here is more to set the flow of the defense. We want this guy here to insert, this 21 to insert. Tonight, as soon as we see that guy bailing, we're going. He's waiting for the pop shot. Set the edge in the inside. Hey, let the defense beat us outside. Because if we would have kept it or handed it off, we could have just cut right up the hash mark. I wish we would have caught this. This play design. All right. Again from Purdue. I like this Purdue game because we had some really good camera angles. Here's a really good shot working wide. Okay, let's see how they read this. 2 back. Nelson walls him off, but because we have a read blocker, so 2 is out, 1 is in, and that's where we're going to hit it right there, and with a lead blocker. Really nice job. I like that play design. Fortunately, we let an arm free on the inside because we don't quite clear out here. Again, head on, I'd like to see Wettig get a little more in there instead of trying to work around. I want to see him butt out Bordellini, take over, let Bordellini climb to 14. Is what it is. Moving on. All right, Rutgers. Press. Like what Braylon does here. It's a little split flow. We press it. Work those linebackers laterally. Let them climb into the offensive linemen who are getting upfield. Doing a pretty good job of getting upfield there. Let's see if he'd be a little more active on our two guards who climb. But not bad. Okay. Again, kind of a split flow. Oh, sorry. But scheme is the same. Okay, working, try to turn the corner. Do. You see Wettig here. Pretty good example. Inside hand down the middle. Turn the corner right there. A little late. Better late than never. Just able to cut around it. Okay, let's look what we got up in here. Okay, two's out, so I'm in. Alley. Dig it out. It's a nice patient run by Jackson Aker. Okay. Just holding the line, press, 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 press. No resistance. Keep going. Once we get to the second level, try to get vertically as quickly as we can. Okay, so from Rutgers. Okay, working wide. This time we keep it. Again, quarterback can keep on outside zone, but his footwork can make it real tough. But they do a good job of, they have a spy sitting here who's going to scrape exchange with this linebacker. He'll sit right up there and take that away. Okay, so here we are against Illinois. Different quarterbacks. This is going to change a little bit of the read portion of this, but the blocking scheme's the same. Working wide. So here, this is just Braylon being Braylon. Let's look here how this gets set up, where we can make this a little bit easier. Okay, so two's out, I'm out. One's out, I'm in. Right there's where I want to bang it. And I think he presses it maybe a little bit too much. Could have gone vertical more up at the hash mark. But he keeps his feet grinding. When you have a big body working a stretch kind of play, it can wear on you. Again, press. Braylon always has a nose for getting downhill on outside zone. Okay, condensing splits gives opportunities to get a little bit wider. But again, we use the lateral movement of the offensive line to create flow to cut behind. Defensive linemen are working wide to get around the hook block, but we just let them beat us to the outside and we just get vertical up the hash mark. Right there. That's where the misnomer part of an outside zone really is key. Press. Again, there's no resistance. We keep hitting that. Two's out, one's out, I'm in. Keep climbing. Okay, a little bit of a nub formation here. Setting the feet a little bit. Again, you really saw in the Illinois game that they were really pushing to get worked outside and then cut vertical. They knew how aggressive Illinois' front seven was, like how much they wanted to play downhill. And when you set walls, you got to go around the corner to get to the ball. We did a good job of cutting behind it. Play by Braylon. Still Illinois. Motion to 3-by-1. Come back to the short side of the field here. A little bit of a hesitation. Again, you'd like to see this push maybe a little bit wider. But the game plan was set. Work them wide. Get vertically as quickly as possible. Here we are against Minnesota. Last group of plays we're going to set up, and a lot of great examples in this game of the Badgers running stretch outside zone. So we get a pistol formation, we work wide, and against the same concept we had against Illinois, we're just using a different backfield action. Push them wide, get the foot in the ground, go vertical. Again, put the foot in the ground, get vertical. Set the flow of the defense, let them over pursue. Down in the low red zone here. Same concept. Now we're going to bounce it outside, because even though the situation here, it's tough if we're going to read this guy off the ball, but we'd probably read 2-1 here, and then this would be extra. And that's pretty much what we do. Yep, Jack has pretty good control of that end. And then Nowakowski controls him just enough for us to get the edge. Braylon's running style again. Take a little contact. You ain't going to arm tackle Braylon out. That's for sure. Okay, working wide. Get vertical. It's simple concept. And here's an example of Jack Nelson really working to try to get his left hand inside of 97. Dig it under. Keep working to dig it underneath. And then when he doesn't quite get it, he just pushes him out in front. It's actually pretty decent technique by Jack there. No, it didn't result in the play getting any better. Okay, next up, working them wide. Some nice patience there by Braylon, maybe a little bit too much. We want to cut. We don't want to stutter step. A little hesitation getting into the gap, getting a little too cute, but big body still falls forward for 3 yards. Okay, and then it's the last one we're going to look at here. And this is using that stretch action to then come back, wall him off, come back with the split flow, and hit Nowakowski for the easy touchdown. So, as you can see, the outside zone is a very versatile scheme. It really depends on how you want to attack it. And there are some variations of, some of these examples I showed, some people might consider more mid-zone. It all falls in the same category because how we attack it is the same. The idea is we push the defense to try to overflow, and we want to get the ball behind it. And if they don't push to overflow, then they're going to give us the edge, and we're going to be able to turn the corner. So that's the great thing about the outside zone. It's, for me, I said in the last video how much the inside zone is a building block scheme. It really is. Outside zone, though, if you can get good at outside zone, there are so many dynamic plays that you can build off, especially in the play action and RPO world, that can really cause a defense to get off balance. So it is a fundamental blocking scheme for teams looking to take their offense to the next level. And I expect it to get even better this coming season with a little more dynamic athletes in the backfield. All right. So there's the outside zone. Next time we come back with our introduction to the Dairy Raid series, we'll finish up with the last blocking scheme, and that is the power scheme and the use of the pulling guard and pulling tight end in the offense to add a gap scheme element to our rushing attack. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching.